Good morning. It is the week of April 20th through April 24th. I wanted to review a little bit of the Raisin in the Sun. I'm going to review scene Act 2, Scene 2, and then I'm going to help you get started with Act 2, Scene 3, which will help you with this week's assignments. And so just as a little recap, and if you have the PDF, I'm on page 566. In Act 2, Scene 2, we had quite a bit going on. And at the end of Act 2, Scene 2, we had Walter, who wasn't showing up to work. And then kind of everything switches when Mama actually gives him the opportunity to be head of the house because she actually gives him some of that money. She gives him $3,500 of the $10,000 to go towards his dream so that he can make the decision that he wants with it. And that means a lot to him. She also gives him the other $3,000 to put in the bank for Beneatha's schooling since she wants to go to school to be a doctor. So at the end of this act, we even have a conversation between Walter and his son, Travis, that kind of shows you this change that we're going to see even take place a little bit more in the next scene. So again, I'm on page 566, and this will help us with your homework. So Walter is talking to his son, and he says kind of what's going on here and where he will work in the future. He says, "You won't understand it yet, son, but your daddy's going to make a business transaction that's going to change our lives. That's how come one day, when you're about 17 years old, I'll come home and I'll be pretty tired. And you know what I mean? After a day of conferences and secretaries getting things wrong the way they do. Because an executive life is hell, man." The more he talks, the farther away he gets. And I'll pull the car up in the driveway. Just a plain black Chrysler, I think, with white walls. No, black tires. More elegant. Rich people don't have to be flashy. They'll have to get something a little sportier for Ruth. Maybe a Cadillac convertible to do her shopping in. And I'll come up the steps of the house, and the gardener will be clipping away at the hedges, and he'll say, "Good evening, Mr. Younger." And I'll say, "Hello, Jefferson. How are you this evening?" And I'll go inside, and Ruth will come downstairs and meet me at the door, and we'll kiss each other. And she'll take my arm, and we'll go up to your room to see you sitting on the floor with the catalogs of all the great schools in America around you. All the great schools in the world. And I'll say, "All right, son, it's your 17th birthday. What is it that you've decided? Just tell me where you want to go to school, and you'll go. Just tell me what it is, what you want to be, and you'll be it. Whatever you want to be. Yes, sir." He holds his arms open for Travis. "You just name it, son." Travis leaps into him, "And I'll hand you the world." Walter's voice has risen in pitch, an hysterical promise on the last line. He lifts Travis high. So this is the end of our last scene that we just read. And if you notice, we went from Walter kind of being depressed and despair and kind of lost. And now it even says almost like hysterical. And he's just really pumped up about all of the opportunity that he has with this money. And so not only is he thinking about how he can invest it, and that's what he's talking about, this business transaction he's going to make, but now he thinks that this business transaction will bring him great wealth and even the opportunity for his son to go to any school he wants. So this is really a big deal for Walter. Now, is this realistic? I don't know. We'll see what kind of business transaction he's talking about. It definitely can happen. Is he somewhat kind of out of touch with reality? Possibly. But we do see this change in Walter's mood. He definitely seems to be refreshed with the option and the opportunity to be able to make a choice of what to do with money. So as we go on to Act 2, Scene 3, if we're reading this in our PDF online, it's on page 567. If you are reading it in the hardcover book, it's on page 110. And Act 2, Scene 3 takes place on Saturday. So I am going to kind of read a little bit aloud and then kind of help you out on some of the questions. So you've got Act 2, Scene 3. So time, Saturday morning, 1 week later, before the curtain rises. And this is moving day. Ruth's voice, a strident, dramatic church alto, cuts through the silence. It is a darkness, a triumphant surge, a penetrating statement of expectations. "Oh Lord, I don't feel no way tired. Children, oh glory, hallelujah." As the curtain rises, we see that Ruth is alone in the living room, finishing up the family's packing. It is moving day. She's nailing crates and tying curtains. Beneatha enters carrying a guitar case and watches her exuberant sister-in-law. So let's see their conversation here on moving day. Ruth: "Hey." Beneatha: "Hi." Ruth, honey, look on the package there and see what I found on sale this morning at the South Center. Ruth gets up and moves to the package and draws out some curtains. Look at here, hand turn hems, beneath it. How do you know the window size out there? Ruth, I hadn't thought of that. Oh well, they're bound to fit something in this whole house. Anyway, there was too good a bargain to pass up. Ruth slaps her head, suddenly remembering something. Oh, Bunny, I meant to put a special note in the carton over there. There's your mama's good china, and she wants them to be very careful with it. Benita, I'll do it. Benita finds a piece of paper and starts to draw large letters on it. Ruth, you know what I'm going to do as soon as I get into the new house? Benita, what? Honey, I'm going to run a tub of water up here, with her fingers practically up her nostrils, and I'm going to get in, and I'm going to sit and sit and sit in the hot water. And the first person who knocks to tell me to hurry up and come out, Benita gets a shot at sunrise. Ruth, you said it, sister. Noticing how large Beneath is about to absent-mindedly making the note. Honey, they ain't gonna read that from no airplane. Beneatha, laughing to herself. I guess I always thought that things have more emphasis if they're big somehow. Ruth looking up and smiling. She and your brother seem to have that as a philosophy of life. Lord, that man does change though around here. You know what? You know what we did last night? Me and Walter Lee? Beneatha. What? Ruth, smiling to herself. We went to the movies. Looking at Beneatha to see if she understands. We went to the movies. You know the last time me and Walter went to the movies together? Beneatha, no. Ruth, me neither. That's how long it's been. But we went last night. The picture wasn't much good, but that didn't seem to matter. We went, and we held hands. Beneatha, oh Lord. Ruth, we held hands, and you know what? Beneatha, what? When we came out of the show, it was late and dark, and all the stores and things were closed up, and it was kind of chilly, and there wasn't much people on the street, and we was still holding hands, me and Walter. Beneatha, you're killing me. So before I go on, I just kind of want to stress and kind of show to you that there's a difference between Walter and Ruth's relationship now. If we saw it was kind of strained in the last scene, they're having some conflict over money and over the next baby and how they're going to provide for it and Walter's dream. And now we see that they're doing something they haven't done in a long time. They're actually going on a date and watching a movie and just enjoying their time together. They're holding hands. So we definitely see that their kind of relationship is rejuvenated because Walter is refreshed. We have also the conversation about the house and how the first thing that one of them wants to do, I believe it is Ruth, is that she wants to take a bath in the tub. And I know for some of that it seems like so simple. But they are in a crowded apartment before this, and there's really not the opportunity to just sit and enjoy. Somebody always needs to be at the bathroom, and here they're going to have more space and more resources so that they can kind of live out their dreams. So a lot of exciting things are happening. And now I also want to kind of draw your attention to what's going on with Walter and Beneatha's relationship. Again, they're brother and sister. And they do kind of have some conflicts. Walter doesn't really seem to think that she should be a doctor. They have conversations over what she believes in civil rights and African American culture. So we'll kind of see how they're relating now as we're in moving day. So Walter enters with a large package. His happiness is deep in him, and he cannot keep still with his newfound exuberance. He's singing and wiggling and snapping his fingers. He puts his package in a corner and puts a phonograph record, which he just brought in with him, on the record player. As the music comes in, he dances over to Ruth and tries to get her to dance with him. She gives in at last to the raunchiness and in a fit of giggling allows herself to be drawn into his mood, and together they deliberately burlesque an old social dance of their youth. Beneatha, regarding a long time as they danced, and drawing in a breath for a deeply exaggerated comment, which she did not particularly mean. Talk about old-fashioned Negroes. Walter, what kind of Negroes? He says this in fun. He is not angry with her today, nor with anyone. He starts to dance with his wife again. Beneatha, old-fashioned. Walter, as he dances with Ruth. You know what? These new Negroes have their convention, pointing at his sister. That is going to be the chairman of the committee on unending agitation. He goes on dancing, then stops. Race, race, race. Girl, I do believe you're the first person in the history of the entire human race to successfully brainwash yourself. Beneatha breaks up and he goes on dancing. He stops again, enjoying his tease. Damn, even the NAACP takes a holiday sometimes. Beneatha and Ruth laugh. He dances with Ruth some more and starts to laugh and stops and pantomimes over on an operating table. I can see that chick someday looking down at some poor cat on an operating table before she starts to slice him, saying, pulling his sleeves back maliciously, by the way, what are your views on civil rights down there? He laughs at her again and they start to dance around happily, and the bell sounds. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. So here we have this conversation between Benitha and Walter, and instead of being like a tense conversation, they're more like teasing each other. Benitha and Walter still are, not maybe always seeing eye to eye about civil rights or how passionate maybe Benitha may be, but now it's more of a joke. It's definitely not as strained as it once was. And she's even joking back with him, like, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words may never hurt me. So the relationship is a lot less strained. So as they're dancing and packing and getting ready for moving day, we have somebody coming to the door. So Benitha goes to the door and opens it as Walter and Ruth go on with the clowning. Benitha is somewhat surprised to see a quiet-looking, middle-aged white man and a business dude holding his hand in a briefcase in his hand and consulting a small piece of paper. Now, before I go on, I do want to remind you that this is during the time where segregation is ending, but it is still very unusual for a Black household to necessarily have like a white man on their doorstep, and vice versa. So we have, this is kind of shocking to them. And again, they're kind of keeping to themselves. So they don't really understand why this would be going on. So here we have this man, and his name is actually going to be Mr. Linder. And he says, how do you do, miss? I'm looking for a Mrs. He looks at the slips of paper. Mrs. Lena Younger, and that's Mama, in case you didn't know. So Benitha, smoothing her hair with slight embarrassment. Oh, yes, that's my mother. Excuse me. She closes the door to turn to quiet the other two. Ruth, brother, somebody's here. Then she opens the door, and a man casts a curious, quick glance at them. Come in, please. Man, thank you. My mother isn't here now. Is it business? Man, yeah, well, sort of. Walter, freely the man of the house. Have a seat. I'm Mrs. Younger's son. I took after most of the business matters. Ruth and Benitha exchanged amused glances. Man. Well, my name is Carl Linder. Walter Younger. This is my wife, Ruth nods politely, and my sister. Linder, how do you do? Walter, amiably, as he sits himself easily on a chair, leaning an inch forward in his knees, looking expectantly into the newcomer's face. What can we do for you, Mr. Linder? Mr. Linder, some minor shuffling of the hat and briefcase on his knees. Well, I'm a representative of the Clybourne Park Improvement Association. So let me just kind of clarify here. We have Mr. Linder, a white man coming at their doorstep, and he is from the Clybourne Park Improvement Association. So that is the new neighborhood that they want to live in. And so he's part of that committee, and he's here to talk to them. We also have Walter, who's now proudly saying he's the man of the house, and even though the man is wanting to talk to Mama, he's going to kind of deal with it. So let's see kind of why he would be there, because this is kind of unusual. So Walter says, why don't you set your things on the floor? Mr. Linder, oh yes, thank you. He slides his briefcase and hat under the chair. And as I was saying, I'm from the Clybourne Park Improvement Association. We've had it brought to your attention at the last meeting that you people, or at least your mother, has brought a piece of residential property at, he digs for the piece of paper, 406 Clybourne Street. Walter, that's right. Care for something to drink? Ruth, get Mr. Linder a beer. Mr. Linder, upset for some reason. Oh, no, really. I mean, thank you very much, but no thank you. Ruth, some coffee? Mr. Linder, thank you, nothing at all. Benitha is watching the man carefully. Mr. Linder, well, I don't know how much about you folks know about our organization. He is a gentleman, thoughtful, and somewhat labored in his manner. It's one of these community organizations set to look after, things like Block Up Peak and special program projects. We also have what we call our New Neighbors Orientation Committee. Benitha, yes, and what do they do? Mr. Linder, turning a little to her and then returning the main force to Walter. Well, it's what you might call sort of welcoming committee, I guess. I mean, I'm the chairman of the committee, go around and see the new people who move into the neighborhood and sort of give them the lowdown of the way we do things in Clybourne Park. Benitha, with appreciation of the two meaning which escape Ruth and Walter, And we have this category of what the association calls, special community problems. Yes, and what are some of those? Walter, girl, let the man talk. Linder, with understated relief. Thank you. I would sort of like to explain this in my own way. I mean, I want to explain to you in a certain way. Walter, go ahead. Linder, yes, well, I'm going to try to get right to the point. I'm sure we'll all appreciate that in the long run. Beneatha, yes. Walter, be still now. Mr. Linder, well. Ruth, will you like another chair? You don't look comfortable. Linder, more frustrated than annoyed. No, thank you very much, please. Well, to get right to the point, a great breath, and he's off at last. I assure you, people must be aware of some of the incidents which have happened in various parts of the city when colored people have moved into certain areas. Beneatha exhales heavily and starts tossing a piece of fruit up and down in the air. Well, because we have what I think is going to be a unique type of organization, an American community life, not only do we deplore that kind of thing, but we're trying to do something about it. Beneatha stops tossing and turns to the new and quizzical interest in the man. We feel, gaining confidence in his mission because of the trouble of the world, when you come right down to it, confidence because of the interest of the people, the faces he's talking to. Sorry, we feel that most of the trouble in the world, when you come right down to it, he hits the knees for emphasis. Most of the trouble exists because people just don't sit down and talk to each other. Ruth, you can say that again, Mr. Linder. Then don't we try hard enough in this world to understand the other fellow's problems, the other guy's point of views? Now that's right. Beneatha and Walter merely watch and listen with genuine interest. Mr. Linder, yes, that's why we feel out in Kleinborn Park, and that's why I was elected to come here this afternoon to talk to you people. Friendly, like the people you should talk to each other, and see if we could find some way to work these things out. As I see, this whole business is a matter of caring about the other fellow. Anyone can see that you're a nice family of folks, hardworking and honest, I'm sure. Beneatha frowned slightly. Quizzically, her head tilted regarding him. Today, everyone knows what it means to be on the outside of something. And of course, there's always somebody who's out to take advantage of people who don't understand. Well, what do you mean? And I'm going to stop here because we've got a lot going on. So we've got Mr. Linder. He's part of the welcoming committee. And he's telling the family, basically, of the new neighborhood that they're going to live in, that there's a problem because there's been some crimes that happen against Black people in that area. And then he's going to let them know that his people are really trying to, of the neighborhood, are really trying to understand them, are trying to stop this. And he's going to continue to tell them what kind of community that they are and make an offer. And I'm going to kind of let you finish reading the rest of that. But again, really think in mind, is he really part of a welcoming committee? Is he really looking out for their best interest? So as you continue reading, you will see what's going on with that. You'll also see what's going on with Mama. And there's some symbolism there of her plants. Why is her plants so important? Why is a garden so important to her? Do you think she really was able to have a garden in an apartment? And we will have a little bit going on with Walter at the end. So keep all of that in mind as you kind of work on this week's assignments to Mr. Linder's talk. He's talking a lot in double talk, meaning that he's trying to be polite and disguise what he's saying, but really he's got some not so great news that he's going to share with them. And you'll see that you're going to have to kind of decode what the truth is behind his talk and think, is he really part of a welcoming committee, or is he really giving them some bad news and he's ignorant himself? All right, guys, that is all for this week's reading. You only have a few more pages left, and it's going to get very interesting. So please kind of finish this up on your own and feel free to email us any questions.